For this week's episode, I'm staying in the Masai Mara to talk about safaris, extinction and conservation. How you doing, folks? Welcome again to Wildlife Wednesday. Major Sir William Cornwallis Harris, who died on the 9th of October 1848, aged just 41, was an English military engineer, artist and hunter. What, you might ask, has that got to do with my safari to the Masai Mara? Well, nothing, to be quite honest, except for one small fact. Major Sir William was possibly the first person ever to go on what is today generally accepted as a safari. The word safari is an all-encompassing word to cover any journey, long or short, and comes originally from the Arabic word safar. But for our purposes, we'll stick with safari without delving any deeper into the origin of the word or the language. Because I think most people have a fair idea of what the word actually means. Because of the connections between African and Arabic cultures, these safaris were carried out by large caravans bringing goods for trade between cities. Trade in human beings would often form part of these caravans, but this slave trade, or human trafficking as we would call it today, had more or less ended by the early years of the 20th century and had in fact disappeared to a great extent in the 19th. Safaris then had to change their business model so that adventure and exploration became the focus of safari, but sadly not the only focus, because they then also became associated with big game hunting. And the aforementioned Sir William was one of these big game hunters. Despite this, Harris is also said to have been a keen observer of nature, and his discovery of the sable antelope led to it being named in his honour, Harris Book. But it was his writings and drawings which, more importantly, created a new awareness and appreciation of the wildlife of Africa. Last week, I spoke about my book From Sunrise to Sunset and showed a slideshow of images from the book. But today, before I go any further, I'd like to quote just a couple of sentences directly from the text. I have always harboured a deep desire to visit the Masai Mara. Where this desire came from, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was from watching Tarzan movies as a kid, or later in my teens and early 20s from reading Hemingway. I don't really know. What I do know is it was an itch that needed to be scratched. Now there's a strange irony about that quote and my desire to visit the Masai Mara. I loved Hemingway's writing, even though he was also a hunter and I abhor hunting. But I think in Hemingway's time there was a lack of real understanding of the natural world and the interconnectedness between all the species of the planet. In my romantic, idealistic mind, I like to think that if Hemingway were alive today, he would be at the forefront of the conservation movement and would, because of his experience as a hunter, be in a better position to educate people in the necessity for the conservation of species. We have lost so many species and we're also on the verge of losing many more that we need to come together as a species ourselves and realise that we are on a path to our own extinction and must act together before it's too late. I'm particularly conscious of the possible extinction of elephants in my lifetime or the lifetime of my children. And on the sleeve notes of From Sunrise to Sunset, I wrote the following. I hope there never comes a time when my grandchildren take up this book to show their friends and say, my granddad actually lived while elephants still roamed the earth. How sad that would be. This also brings to mind a quote from Christine McDivitt Tompkins, who along with her late husband is responsible for the rewilding of millions of acres of land in South America. Something valuable can best be understood not by its presence, but by its absence. How true these words are. Having achieved my ambition and travelled to the Masai Mara and witnessed the beauty of the huge numbers of animals that inhabit this incredible ecosystem, I became even more aware of the necessity to protect all species of the natural world. And in some future episode of Wildlife Wednesday, I'll delve a little deeper into the animal extinctions and the need for the protection and conservation of species and ecosystems. But for today, I'll leave you with the short slideshow of some elephant images from my safari in the Masai Mara. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again for watching Wildlife Wednesday, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, I'd be grateful if you'd give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And when you do, don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Till next week, stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, and continue to maintain social distancing. You never know. The life you save may be your own. Take care, folks. Bye.